everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be checking out a brand new map that just hit the leagues. It's going to be a map that goes by the name of Project SD129. Bit of an interesting one. Apparently, whatever this project was, resulting in a strange donut-shaped asteroid field sort of a thing going on here. It's like a planet that had rings that has since been obliterated by something Death Star-esque and now has a little field of debris surrounding the ring of which these commanders are going to be playing on. It's a pretty cool little map, and I haven't gotten a chance to play it, so I am excited to take a look at it here. And so today, spawning as the blue team leader, it's going to be a Cortex commander that goes by the name of Marabello. 33 open skill and going to be leading the blue team with some good old-fashioned Cortex bots, apparently rigged up for outer space exploration here. Didn't know that the bots were, you know, space-rated. Good to know, though. I suppose you don't have to... Well, I was going to say you don't have to space rate bots, right? Like, they don't really need, you know, air, water, blood, that sort of a thing, but there's definitely a lot that you'd have to change to make a robot that's capable of, well, not only being in space, but fighting in space. Yeah, I don't know if Cortex builder code is up to space par here. I'd be pretty curious to see some of the outer space OSHA violations that Cortex violates by building their little laboratories in open areas, no decontamination procedures, no environmental sealing, any of that sort of stuff. We're getting off the rails here. The red commander spawning on the, I guess the front lines here, the mid lines here of the red team, going into an air lab. It's going to be none other than Sleetox. Sleetox coming in at 24 open skill, and immediately, one of the first things I notice here, a gigantic difference between the red and blue commander here from the start. So we have Sleetox with 24 open skill versus Marabello's 33. It's a fairly significant difference of 9, so that's definitely represents a difference in skill to some degree, but they both do have those silver-tailed chevrons as well. So at the very least, both of these commanders have, roughly speaking, the same amount of experience. Now, how much scouting was that scout plane able to do? Virtually none. Wow, okay. Scout plane denied right here by the anti-air cannons from Oganif, who I guess has wisely gone ahead and built a duo of anti-air cannons, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, harassing through this gigantic empty mid area is going to be super, super powerful. I wonder if we're going to go into an air lab. That's kind of what I'm expecting here now. Now that I look at it, it does make sense that the air commanders would be front and center in the middle of the map right here, whereas the ground commanders are going to be fighting along the northern and southern ring of this donut. Now, this is one of those cases where not rotating my camera around all the time comes in very handy, because otherwise this map would be virtually indistinguishable from head to tail, south to east, west to north. Just, you know, it's a circle. There's not a lot you can do about a circular map other than keep your camera in the same orientation. So hopefully it helps you, dear viewers at home. Thank you. This Brightworks cast is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Open 420. The pink commander here are going to be going for a little bit of a resbot spam, getting those resbots out to eat up the Duracell crystals. We do have those being reclaimed quite nicely here. Are they nerfed or are they the powerful ones? They are the nerfed ones. So there are powerful ones that give about 100 energy per second, and there are these ones which give a lot less energy per second, but also have some metal tied up in them, which makes them quite useful. Obviously, you're going to reclaim them either way. It's a huge advantage to get those crystals eaten up and turned into energy in your laboratories and in your economy. But at the end of the day, there's a little bit of an extra incentive on this map, a little bit of a bonus feature. Bit of a slower match here, as it does look like both teams have gigantic Cortex presences, not necessarily Armada ones. Yeah, wow. Core. We do have an Armada vehicles player. Vehicles always starting up a little bit slower here. But I guess I have to pace myself. I've been watching a lot of pro-level gameplay, and those guys play at lightning speed. This is a much more relaxed game. This is probably out of one of the, the noob-friendly Rotato lobbies. So we're definitely going into this with hearts and minds open. Yeah, ready to learn and eager to learn from mistakes. Yeah, I think that's the right idea. Alright, well, a bot lab has eventually come up here from S-Tile X, the brown commander, who now has an air lab and a bot lab up and running. Now, don't get me wrong, that is an exceptionally greedy build, an extremely greedy playstyle, because, of course, if you go ahead and build one of those air labs, then suddenly that's 800 or so metal. That's not in units on the front line. A commander with their salt is going to send 800 metal worth of units towards your front line, eat it all up, and then that front line becomes your back line. Never a good situation here. No micro from the hot pink commander. Could reclaim these grunts right here and solve this issue. Could build an LLT and build it with the construction turrets. Couple of options here. Looks like we're Looks like we're out of this game. Just like that, the Hot Pink Commander with absolutely no patience whatsoever. 2 grunts in the backline, an easily resolvable issue, ends up killing an entire commander. Would you look at that? Well, the Blue Commander's got to be happy with the way that that went. Absolutely killing an entire commander with 2 grunts is a worthwhile trade. That cuts the APM by about an 1/8 here for the red team. And yeah, it definitely becomes a bit of a problem for the Maroon Commander, who expected to be playing a little bit more of a passive game. Well, not really, actually. Yeah, we've got the lab up, we've got the maces. I would have imagined we'd play a little bit more passively, just given that we're a little more in the backline here. But not going to be the case right now for the Maroon Commander, who actually has units on the front. They were headed forward. I think the Hot Peak Comm had stayed in this game. Those reinforcements would have been more than enough to help out with this. But obviously, tempers flare, and oftentimes it's a morale victory more than anything else. Dead grunts on the front line here as well. Definitely best to keep those out of LLT's distance, at least if you're not going to push into it yourself. Ooh. The constructor here waddling forward. I'd actually love to see a capture command on this. Difficult to micro, but you can always shift select. You just hold shift and then select everything. It'll just select anything in the radius. And you can right click this button to move it backwards to hold fire. Capturing is one of those mechanics that I feel like exists in this game, but we hardly ever get a chance to see. Oh, look at this. Cheeky. We've deployed little anti-air bots to the actual islands over here. Those are going to be so... Oh, there's the transport right there. Yeah, those are going to be so difficult to deal with. Yeah, because aircons want to move around and capture all these. You can see the aircon right there for the Powder Blue Commander. Not going to be able to really do too much because, yeah, those AA bots are going to be... well, immune to most units out of the air lab right now, and it does mean that, yeah, it's going to be quite difficult to deal with all this. You know, it'd be a fun play. You send 2 shurikens and a transport. This thing shoots down, maybe 3 shurikens, shoots down one of the shurikens, and then you paralyze it, and then you pick it up with the transport, and you just bring it back to your base, and you convert it, and then go drop it back off on the island. Obviously, a lot of APM to spend doing that for each one of these, right? But could be interesting to see. Meanwhile, Marabella running away with it on the southern side. Yeah, the Blue Commanders just walked down the base right here of the, well, the former Hot Pink base, now adapted Maroon base here, the Maroon expansion. Has walked it down with the commander and D-gunned down the laboratory as well as a whole bunch of the other buildings, cutting down that metal and reducing the amount that can be reclaimed and used to rebuild an army. That's actually a really important part of this process, because if that metal was left to, well, just left to be reclaimed on the front lines, or even better yet, resurrected on the front lines, yeah, you can imagine that adds up pretty quickly, and suddenly the Blue Commander is facing off against an army that's 2 times as big as it should be, or 2 times as it would be with 1 player, right? You see what I'm saying? That army would have been split between 2 players, now it would have been combined under 1 player, and that can be very difficult to deal with. Maces and rocket bots doing their best here. We do have 2 different armies. It's a lot to juggle right here for JJ George. The 8 open skill silver-tailed chevron hero, who is now in full retreat as the maces, the thugs rather, push forward right here. And we are an Armada commander. You know, when you've got a bunch of metal like this, I would love to see some Centurions on the field. Centurions are so powerful. They're difficult to use because you have to put them in position and keep them in position. But if you manage that, then you can really end up with a very difficult to break, front line. Northern side, much more of a traditional battle here. We've got the rocket bots firing away at the vehicles. We've got the vehicles firing away backwards at the rocket bots here. Tanks as well as Janus trying to connect with those long-range heat-seeking missiles and plasma cannons, trying to blast down whatever that they can. Val B-59 here going to be retreating from the rocket bots as they fire forward and do a good amount of damage. There they go, connecting with the LLT, the Janus, the medium tanks, all the rest of it, slowly but surely crumbling away. A tank army is not one that can go without micro for long. You will be whittled down by these forces, and it's never going to be a very efficient trade. Even if you reclaim all this, you're still losing 30% or so of your metal in tanks that are going down to rocket bots. It's not efficient to lose them this way, so you have to be trading out against them constantly, keeping those numbers down before that snowball really takes you out. Because just like this, the front line is now pushed to the point where the yellow commander can start to reclaim, and reclaim Cobalt sure will. Immediately starts eating those tanks, and of course those tanks fund more bots on the front. Jammer has been built up right here, one of those units that's subject to change in the recent, or the upcoming patch for Season 2. The Sneaky Pete losing its cloaking capabilities. Hopefully we see a significant cost reduction as well. I believe the core Jammer is quite a bit cheaper. I could be wrong. Oh, we're all ARM all of a sudden. I could have swore we were core. Didn't mean to make that rhyme, but now you know it's true. 115, yeah, so nearly double the cost. I'm trying to think, yeah, 100, so 230, so more than double the cost actually of the Cortex Jammer. Which, you know, for having cloaking is fair, but if we're going to remove the cloaking, I feel like definitely needs to be significantly cheaper. I only skimmed the patch notes though. It could likely well be that the yeah, that is already planned for that. I hope so, because, you know, otherwise, you know, a little bit of a heavy nerf denying Armada jammers in the early game. Cobalt going to be moving forward, gets the kill on the green commander, and that's going to be a juicy stimulus of economy. Is it going to be what we need to go into T2? It sure is. Actually already started up the T2 lab, is wonderful, and is now finishing it off with the commander medal, and likely will be going into, of course, those T2 constructors, as well as a whole bunch of other T2 units, whatever's needed on the front line. Frankly speaking, not a lot is necessary, because, of course, those vehicles rely heavily on snowballing, staying alive, and then snowballing off of that. When they all go down like this, you're set back even further than if you lose your entire bot army. Bots have the res bot, they have, well, just more comeback mechanics in general than vehicles do. Vehicles' win condition is to survive long enough to have 100 medium tanks that you can throw at your opponent, and hopefully you kill their entire base with it. Heavy-handed, sure, but it's an effective strategy to say the very, very least. Spillionaire, slam door Spillionaire, the purple commander does, ooh, barely dodge the shots right there. Boom goes the purple commander, taking out the entire purple army, as well as all the static defenses over there. JJ George managing to make it work on this southern side here. Gets those mexes up and running. Yeah, we've got the extra comm here helping out as well. And now that's going to be another 1,000 or so metal going back to the red economy. I'm liking the plays right here from the red. The blue team had a great positional advantage with those metal extractors, but may have overstayed their welcome. Pushing just a little bit too far, a little bit too hard. Now we're porking up as hard as possible over here on the northern side for the blue commander. I don't know how well this works out, though. This is definitely expensive to do. T2 is coming up right here, which is why I guess it's fine to spend it on that pork, because you can always go ahead and deconstruct it in order to pay for other things. But look at this, the greed. The blue commander just going ahead and going for fusion reactors in base. I mean, this is a very light greed. This is greed light. 0 calorie greed. Very easy to afford those fusion reactors. Easier than you might think. Those T2 metal extractors, I mean, obviously at 4x the metal production, you can start to afford those T2 economic structures really, really nicely. We do have a couple of gauntlets set up over here, and the LLTs and the beamers are fine because there's good odds that they'll be able to find some value into the mid and late game. The gauntlets, however, fall off extremely quickly. The only unit that I can think of the gauntlets become fairly useful against are Sheldon, which, do not get me wrong, are a gigantic menace to deal with. Oh, look at that. The blue line is broken, though. Nice read right here from the brown commander. Actually pushed forward before T2 units were able to reinforce the static defenses. If that had been the case, this would have been virtually unwinnable. But look at all that juicy metal right there. If we just hit the superior metallized vision. 1.77 thousand metal right there. 321 metal right there. Good chunks of metal all over the place. Now, what Marabello is doing right here is basically just retreating outside of the retreating from the army and giving up space in order to pull back to the T2 reinforcement advantage. So you can see Sheldon are coming out. Hopefully we see some fiends too. With big grouped up piles of armies like this, self-destructing fiends can wipe out entire groups of thugs. I believe it's 2 self-destructions. It might even be 1 from the fiends. It does a ridiculous amount of damage in their self-destruct. You can seriously wipe out entire T1 compositions in a matter of seconds with just a few of those well-placed bad boys. You can think of it kind of like a spy bot with a much shorter range and a much more dangerous effect. I cast Blow You Up. It was extremely effective. LLTs here trying their best. Thugs not necessarily too bothered by the LLTs. LLTs are sort of a joke once you get into numbers. Even just a couple of thugs can well outpace a couple of LLTs. LLT damage is basically good for dealing with scout units. Dicks, spawns, grunts, in occasion, rovers and rascals, all those lighter units. Yellow commander running for their life. Cobalt retreating off the side of the world right here. Don't do it, commander. Go back. Go back to the mainland where your metal extractors be. We have sprinters coming out of the lab now. I'm surprised to see that. I think welders might have been a better choice right here. Sprinters are great, don't get me wrong, and especially against these plasma bots, they can do a lot of work. But against the Janus, I mean, the Janus have tracking, so no matter how fast you're going to be, the Janus are always going to at least manage to land something against you, unless you're really particularly kiting. It can be a dangerous situation. Missed a big battle on this northern side, but you are the northern side of the southern area of the ring. Oh my goodness! Wait, I just realized. Now that serenade probably just awoke, like, you know, a pretty good portion of you. Like sleeper agents. I bet your Halo reflex was activated. I just realized that this entire thing is a Halo. It's just... Do you think the people on the southern side of the ring look up at the northern side and wonder if they're looking back at them? How romantic is that? I wonder if I sung for long enough to get copyrighted. I always think about that whenever I serenade you guys with a little bit of a song there. Sheldon doing their thing. And it should be no surprise to anybody to see Sheldon pulling apart T1 armies for free, essentially. I mean, given that this army is nearly 5,000 metal, I suppose it's well justified that it should do quite well against a particular unit that's 130 metal. But yeah, Sheldon are so dangerous, and this is way too much T1 on the front line. I mean, if we lose all this, this is just an exorbitant waste. Trying to select as little enemy units as possible here, try and get an accurate count. But yeah, about 6,600 metal worth of T1 units, and we are still streaming them out too. Yikes. So that's definitely a tell of a less experienced player, less experienced commanders continuing to produce those T1 units and feeding them into the meat grinder that is T2. As soon as you have a big bundle of Sheldon like this, you really can't keep producing T1 units. These are all forfeit. The best way to save face right here for the Brown Commander is quite literally to produce 10 Resbots and eat all of this up. Start retreating and eat all this up with Resbots. Stop producing everything and start going into a whole bunch of those going into a whole bunch of those T2 units. Build a T2 lab, start building T2 units. We do have bombers up and running, which is kind of interesting. Shuriken would be viable here too. There is no anti-air actually. Yeah, as you can see, the scout plane. Huh. Yeah, the lack of anti-air is actually gigantic. Well, yeah, the bombers are nice. 6% damage on a commander right here. This bomber coming in. They're good. They're decent, but yeah, I think we either needed 10 bombers total or we needed 30 Shuriken to jump on top of all this. Maybe could have made an efficient trade out of this, but look at what we're doing right now. I mean, just throwing away metal. Very, very generously throwing away metal. Rocket Spooter now out on the field here for the yellow commander, going to be going up against those vehicles. We also have a Gunslinger, which is cool. Gunslinger are kind of very niche. Their application is essentially just against T1 units, and specifically T1 vehicles they really excel against. And would you look at that? A bunch of T1 tanks. Looks like Cobalt knows his stuff and is going to be building that very useful tool for dealing with these. You can see it does a little bit of impulse, and against vehicles it's really important. Vehicles have a really slow acceleration. Their top speed is quite impressive, but their acceleration is very low. Basically means that they take forever to start moving, but once they're moving, they're difficult to catch up to, and the Gunslinger stops them from moving. It makes them essentially static. Man, I can't keep looking. It's like a car crash. I just have to keep watching as thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of metal worth of T1 units gets hand-delivered to the blue forces here. Those Sheldon happily reinforced here, and at this point we're moving the lab forward. Not sure why. I think we meant to, yeah. I was just about to say, I think we meant to go for a T3 lab here. The blue commander accidentally building a T2. Yeah, gonna be going directly into T3. I mean, of course, why not? That was, like I said, several thousand metal worth of T1 units. What was it? It was like 6,000 metal worth of T1 units. That's 2/3 of a T3 laboratory right here. The blue comm overflowing a little bit right there, but that's alright. It's more than enough to pay for this T3 laboratory. We've got dual fusions up and running on top of some solar panels here as well. These A solars actually already in and of their own, producing almost 500 energy. Not bad. T2 mexes on the little island asteroids coming up and running is cool too. The red comm well into those T2 production phases, those T2 production cycles, getting those fighters up and running, building a whole bunch more build power. We have aphyses and fusions, all sorts of stuff all over the place. And we even have a platypus on the front line. That is an interesting one. The platypus is a amphibious slash land-based unit. It's quite capable at swimming across the seas and then popping up in weird angles. No water in space, though, at least none that's liquid for the platypus to take advantage of, so I guess it's just waddling around. Waddling waterlessly around. Wow, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? And the rocket spiders having a field day against all these slow T1 units. So to match the throw here on the southern side from the brown commander, you can see the Seafoam green is likewise pushing forward, although getting a little bit more value, ever so slightly more value here. The Gunslinger's still tearing this apart, and the rocket spiders, yeah, not unhappy about being able to fire away into the distance and connect with a whole bunch of these very expensive for their, well, overall effectiveness T1 units. Yeah, the Gunslingers and Rocket Spiders. Pretty wombo combo, if you ask me. The Rocket Spiders, of course, have so much range, and the Gunslingers provide the vision, meaning that they both complement each other quite nicely, and the Gunslingers, obviously, with their regenerative biosteels, also capable of coming back to life after just a couple of minutes out of combat. Not even minutes, really, a couple of seconds. You can see regenning, what is that, like 2% per second? 1.8% per second? Something like that. What a mess. And I'll tell you what, if there's any gauntlet that I respect in this game, it's got to be this one right here from JJ George, who does happen to have the one gauntlet that's actually firing away at T2 units. Plenty of radar jammers here, so at the very least, it's going to be difficult to hit these Sheldon, but not impossible. When there's vision, those Sheldon are in trouble, unfortunately. So too is the gauntlet. The gauntlet fires away. And just like that, it does go down. Another one was coming up right here, but gauntlets are not the long-term solution. We have the T2 laboratory. We have the capability to build rattlesnakes. That's what we need to be aiming for. Shiva on the field. Those T3 epic late-game units with their little kind of rhinoceros-shaped heads, almost. They sort of remind me of Dunkleosteus or Dunkleosteus? Dunkleosteus? Is that what its name is? Big armored ancient fish. That thick Shiva skull and that heavy Gauss projectile weaponry. And man, these Sheldon. Something to eat? Ooh, we're thinking about it. I just know we were thinking about it. Yeah, there's not a lot to do here. T1 units need to be 8. T1 units need to be 8 right here. Bombers coming up for the red commander. We do have loads of fighters available. Oh, look at that. The hero anti-air bot. How many kills did this guy's name? 4 kills and counting as they continue to fire away up into the mixture of units right here. Every time these fly over, they're doing a pass and losing a whole bunch of life. Just dying.
Battle paused.
A little bit of a pause.
Started.
Brown commander moving in, preparing for the D-guns at the request of the orange commander. Marauder doing a decent job of surrounding these Shiva. They managed to kill the first 2 Shiva out the lab anyways. A couple of Tsar tanks are available as well. Tsar's less threatening than the Shiva. They don't have the siege missile like the Shiva does. The red commander taps out of the game though. One of the maroon commanders goes down on the southern side here. Gotta hand it to JJ George, who's been microing this like a champion here, trying to get as many of these T2 units into the field as possible. The Marauder are building up in numbers, but it's a band-aid, right? You have to have those Marauder. Oh man, look at this guy. You have to have those Marauder in the other side of the map to really get the maximum value out of them. Yeah, so that guy scuffs him up, and then this guy starts firing away for realsies. Oh, I love that. I love, like, just a couple of anti-air bots end up being extremely important into the late game. Well, the general advantage goes to the red team. As you can see, the metal and energy production advantage firmly on their side with a 10% metal production and a 12% energy production total advantage, and with a per second advantage here of about 20%, 5% as well. A lot of that has to do with the eco scaling here from Big Baddie, the orange commander at 20 open skill, going to be showing us some proper eco scaling, building a bunch of those T1 E converters, which I love to see, and also going for some of those T3 units. Would love to see just a chip of these selected off to reclaim all the fusion reactors. Not a great reason to keep these around into the late game. Once you have the build power up and running, it really is much more efficient to go for the aphises. Sheldon coming out of the T2 lab right here for the pink commander on the northern side, walking them all the way down to the southern side. And the Marauder are still looking for that value that they need to find. We have a couple of Fiends trying to break through. Marauder moving into position to intercept, though. And doing a pretty good job. Nicely done. Marauder catch the Fiends before they really have a chance to do too much damage in the backline. Razorback headed out to deal with the spam, and these Marauder look like they're gearing up to try and take down the Sheldon. Now bear in mind, that is a lot of Sheldon. Marauder do great work against the Sheldon. Oh, the friendly fire from the Tsar is brutal there as well. Eventually, those are taken care of, but it does hurt quite a lot, right? Knowing that there's T3 units that can actually kill your big Sheldon ball. This is, at this point in the game, 19,000 metal worth of Sheldon. Yeah, well worth protecting. Oh, speaking of protecting, the AoE doing nightmarish things to this bundle of Sheldon right here. Estile, still getting used to that D-gun feature, welded into the arm right there of that commander. Fires off the D-gun. Oh, we need a couple more. Fired a little preemptively. Yeah, the brown commander let off that D-gun too early, and it means that those Shiva will manage to back off and kill that comm before it can do too much more damage. Marauder trying to come to the rescue over here, but we need Resbots to eat up all these corpses and feed the metal back into the machine. Otherwise, it's just too wasteful to send those T3 units to their doom. The major advantage that you get out of T3 units is most of the time, if you have enough T3 units, and it really doesn't take too many, 2 to 3 of those early T3 units, they have enough force to push past the reclaim fields that they create so that your Resbots can go in and eat everything up. Man, speaking of reclaim fields here, the Razorbacks absolutely disintegrating that entire composition of Sheldon. My goodness. Now it looks like the green commander has had enough of this tomfoolery and is now going to start sending in the, well, the bombers. Hopefully do some splits here. It's not worth losing all the bombers to kill this base. Nice pull away right there from the green commander. Backs off those heavy bombers and spares a few of them to continue assaulting the forces over on the other side. Scouting the Aphis over here for the brown commander as well. Ooh, we're going to split him up. That's risky. You need, I believe, 5 bombers, and he's got exactly that right here. Bombs are away. Oh, it's just barely not enough. 11% HP. Boom goes the pink base, though. E-converters were right next to the Aphis, and it does mean that that stat goes up in smoke. Barely the brown commander does stay alive right there. Just barely not enough firepower to take that down. I think one more bomber, and that would have been brought low right there by the green commander. Reinhard Estrella. The spam is nice, but where's our, tools to accompany this? We have the sharpshooter, singular, firing away here. Which is, again, nice, but it's one of those things where sharpshooter snowballs so heavily that you have to keep the first ones alive so that they have time to join the second and the third and the fourth and so on and so forth. As those the longer those sharpshooters stay alive, the more value that they can get. And there you go. I mean, you can see slowly but surely getting value here, but really we need 5, 6, 7 more sharpshooters on the front here. Going for the Aphis is risky, especially after the entire southern side has just been melted. You can see the brown comm here, Style X, sending a whole bunch of metal, a bunch of resources over to Cobalt in order to, try and just build forward here. We're going for a safety pulsar. This far behind in the game, though. Not sure that you can really afford a safety pulsar. We've got quite a porked up defense over here as well. Still gauntlets firing away, but now we've got T2 static defenses working in tandem as well. That pulsar firing at a whole bunch of grunts. Doing great. Yep, bombers. The name of the game. Razorbacks. Idle. Man, if Cobalt moves these Razorbacks, they kill so much. I think they might win this entire southern side if these Razorbacks start moving. There we go. Would you look at that? Yeah, queued right into the base right there. Well, you know what? I say that. The purple commander has been given enough time now to get that T3 lab up and running and isn't stopping the eco. I think going all the way into T3 production until you know that the T3 are dealt with. I don't know that these Razorbacks were scouted. They might be appearing more or less for the first time here. But don't get me wrong, this is a grouping of 6 Razorbacks, and certainly very, very capable at that. You can see even able to blast down the bombers. Bombers, though, doing a good job, at least killing one of them, at the very least. The yellow commander Cobalt. Standing against the Horde. But unfortunately for them, this is a desolate matchup here. We'll go ahead and speed things up as the Shivas slowly but steadily whittle down these Razorbacks. Oh, and they stop moving too. I don't think they would have made it to the lab, but they're definitely not going to make it to the laboratory at this point here. Razorbacks are blasted apart. Hopefully we see some Resbots or something to try and reclaim all this. The Brown Commander, the last one left standing. We'll go ahead and accelerate this because this game is definitely well over. Very cool map. I'm excited to see where this map goes in the future. We'll just kind of zoom out and enjoy the peripheral explosions here. Very excited to see where this map goes in the future because obviously maps that have big weird features, like for instance this big neutral zone in the middle, are going to necessitate some unique strategies. And I think on this sort of map it's going to always mean that airplay is going to be super, super important. So I'm excited to see what that strategy is going to look like. Will we finally see a viable frontline T1 air start? I think this might be the opportunity that we need, the jump start to do so. Yeah, I can imagine some really cheeky strategies. Maneuvering transports around, trying to, you know, transport into the enemy backlines and whatnot, doing commander drops, all that good stuff. Yeah, it's going to be really, really viable. Style X absolutely BMing here. Sending the commander onto a little island and cloaking it as far away as possible. Yeah, definitely getting kick banned for it. Probably deserved at this point. After dragging a game on 6 or 7 minutes longer than it needed to be. Yeah, definitely earning that one here. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I do appreciate each and every one of you, and I wish you the very best. I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Hope to see you out there on the ladder. I've had more time to actually play the game, which is always nice. Don't always get as much time, but when I do, it's always a wonderful opportunity to see some of you guys out there in the community, and I appreciate that every single time. Anyways, I'll let you go. Thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.